Hello and welcome to the second video and the second part of our series on building good credit. If you were here in part one, we covered how your FICO credit score is calculated. We covered what works, what doesn't work, what's important, what's not important. And today we're going to go a step further. We're going to talk about how to correct errors on your credit report. Maybe not as sexy, but hopefully equally as important and equally as valuable to you. Let's get started. Step one is look for inaccuracies on your credit report. And as common sense and logical as this sounds, you'd be surprised how many people I come across who have never really printed off all three of their reports to see if there are any errors listed. If you were here in part one, like I said, we covered a number of things. And one of those things were that you can have three different scores at the three different bureaus. And the reason for that is every place that you spend money isn't required to send that transaction report to all three. So if you print off one report and you don't realize that that vendor or that company only reported to that one bureau, you could have errors on the other two reports and not be aware because you never checked those reports. And I actually have a really personal story about this, and it involves my sister, who for the purposes of this video we'll call Jane Doe. And she went to school in a small town, same school that I did. And in that town, there was another Jane Doe who was living her life just like my sister, making financial transactions and going about her day. Well, for years, my sister had a credit score that was really, really low, and she couldn't figure out why. And when she finally printed off all three of her reports, she found out that the other Jane Doe in that city was making transactions, but they were being reported to my sister's score. Now, this is something that you would think couldn't happen, and hopefully it's not happening to you. But by printing off all three of your scores, you can see things like that. And if there is a case where you need to make a dispute of a claim or a dispute of a transaction, you can do that, but you can only do that once you know what all three say about your history. Step two is check the date for any negative transactions on your credit report. So in part one, we covered that the largest component of your FICO credit score is your payment history. It's actually 35% of your score. So fortunately or unfortunately, a significant part of what goes into building good credit is basically just, is it on your report that you've paid your bills on time? And if that's not the case for you, then you do unfortunately have to just wait for some time to pass for those things to clear up and stop having such a big impact on your FICO score. However, you may be in a situation where you do have negative transactions that are reported, but the date is reported inaccurately, or anything on your report that is listed inaccurately, and that may be something that is worth disputing. So, for example, if you look at what some of those things might be, unpaid judgments, they stay on your credit report for either 7 years or until the statute of limitations runs out, whichever is longer. Negative transactions can stay on your report for 7 years, and bankruptcies can stay on your report for 10 years. So a credit bureau can make their own calculations for when those dates start, but typically it's when it actually occurs. So for example, if you have a bankruptcy that occurred 10 years ago, and you look on your credit report and you see that it was listed as 9 years ago, that's something that's worth disputing, because by you getting that date corrected, you could be putting yourself in a situation where something that will be taken off of your credit report would have stayed on there a year longer if you hadn't checked. So if you're in that situation, you want to go through the process of checking those dates to make sure something that is bad, it did happen, it's not a mistake, but maybe when it happened is listed incorrectly on your report. Now, the first step in clearing up any errors on your reports is actually getting those reports. And the Federal Fair Credit and Reporting Act actually requires that you're given access to all three at least once every 12 months. But not only that, you can get your credit report for a number of reasons. You can get a free credit report if you've been denied credit within 60 days. You can get a free credit report if you're unemployed and plan on looking for work in 60 days. You can get a free credit report if you're on welfare. And importantly, you can get a free credit report if you feel your report is inaccurate because of fraud or identity theft. So, once you have those reports, what do? Well, you can dispute any errors or inaccuracies online. So if you go to any of the three bureaus, they're going to have a link on that website that either shows you a paper form or has an electronic way for you to file a dispute. And the good thing about this is you only have to do this with one bureau. As odd as it sounds, even if you have something on one bureau that's not listed with another bureau, once you file that dispute, they are required to tell their counterparts that a dispute has been filed. Not only that, they're required to investigate it if it's not frivolous. And if it's found that anything in that investigation has changed your report positively or negatively, they have to send you another free credit report and details of what they found in that investigation. Now, the second way that you can do this is you can go directly to the source and you can send a dispute letter to the company that you feel reported that transaction inaccurately. So if you want, you can actually go to the Federal Trade Commission's website, www.consumer.ftc.gov, and they'll show you a sample of a dispute letter, and we'll put that link in this video. But if you file that dispute letter, you send it directly to the person or the company. You give your information, the date of the transaction, what you feel happened, and why you feel it's inaccurate, and then they are required to tell that bureau that a report has been filed. And if it's found that they were wrong and they continue to report it, they have to give a reason why, or if they're going to correct their error, they have to send in that proof to those bureaus themselves. So whichever way you want to do it, that path is available to you. Now, to be clear, some of the stuff that's adversely affecting your credit may be completely accurate, and you may just have to wait for some time to pass for it to clear itself up, or you might have to follow the plan and the steps that we're putting in place to help build that credit score. So in part 3, we're going to continue that conversation. We're going to talk about building good credit and strategies that you might have heard. We're going to introduce credit cards for the first time. We're going to talk about credit card surfing. We're going to talk about debt snowballs and how all of those things come together to help build good credit. I hope you've really enjoyed this session today, and really the second session, and I hope you'll tune in for part 3 when we cover all those things. As always, if you liked what you heard, please share it with as many people as you can. We want to help as many people as we can. And if you would like to submit a topic to be covered, you can do that by going to my website, www.brentonharrison.com, and under the blog section, there's a questionnaire you can fill out for a topic you want to be covered in the future. See you next time.